and welcome to part 2 of our summer 2019 garden tour here at Thousands of Roots. I realized partway through filming the video that was definitely going to have to be a 2-part video. So we left off in part 1 kind of toward the back of the kitchen garden. In part 2 we'll work our way forward back to the house and take a look at our new patio beds that we have, and hopefully end up at the end of the video in the new garden, the front garden that we just established this spring. Alright, all the way to the very back of the garden, got more sunflowers. They're a dwarf variety that we feed our chickens. I've got some oopsie daisy calendula, which are going crazy. They're so beautiful. It's really time to start harvesting from them. We have some peppers hidden in here. Marconi red peppers, 2 of them kind of hiding in the calendula here. There's also strawberries in there and asparagus. The experimental potatoes in the compost did not do so well on this side. I think they dried out, so we got about as many potatoes as we put into them. And then down on the other end we haven't harvested yet, so hopefully we'll be harvesting those soon. Next up is one of our tomato beds here, and we've got more calendula, oopsie daisy calendula, some red crimson bee balm, which is just starting to open up, and 4 different varieties of tomatoes here. Celebrity, we've got a very dark purple one, I can't remember the name. I don't know, I tried so many different tomatoes this year, so I don't remember what's where, but what else? I also planted some Zloty lawn chamomile, which is kind of struggling down there, but hopefully it will take off. This whole area got majorly flooded, so our second cattle panel trellis over here has really struggled. We've got purple potted pole beans and Missouri Wonder beans coming on, and then on the other side we planted some Blue Lake bush beans, which we've been harvesting from, and we actually lost 2 of those plants at the last flood that came through. In the center, 2 plants just completely toppled over. Got a few little starts to Ford Hook Giant Chard, which did really good last summer in the heat. So I'm hoping under the shade of this trellis that we'll have chard all summer long. We're trying Malabar spinach for the first time this year, so we've got 4 plants, 2 on either side of the trellis, to see if we can get spinach through the summer. Got a few pear trees in here with different flowers, and comfrey going crazy. Need to trim back the comfrey. And then this is exciting. This is a whole patch of 4 summer squash. I'll have to put the variety up when I do the edit, because I can't remember the variety, but there's a whole bunch of them coming on. Let's see if I can get in here. There's a whole bunch of them coming on, and the squash bugs have been trying to take them out, but I'm trying to stay on top of it. And so far the plants are all looking good except for one. The furthest one over there is starting to be droopy, so we may lose that one. But hopefully we'll get a good harvest before these plants get overtaken by the squash bugs. Alright, so then on the other side of our double cattle panel trellis, the new one for this year, we've got Marketmore cucumbers, which I think are doing really well. We've harvested a few already. Kids actually like to pick them really small. I actually am probably going to make some pickles out of them, the smaller ones. But they're doing good, and super excited about that, because this whole area has been flooded as well. Here we had other cucumbers that didn't make it. One's trying to make it. I'm not even sure the variety of that one. It's struggling. But I finally put this board here, so if we get any more floodwaters coming through, hopefully it will protect what's growing here, which is some more purple potted pole beans that I just planted, so they're just starting to peek through. Since we lost most of our cucumbers to flooding, I wanted to at least have something to fill in the other side of the trellis here. So that's pretty much it for the back of the garden. I probably missed a few things, but that's most of it. Then kind of in the center of the garden we've got our apple tree area, so 4 different apple trees with various perennial plants and flowers underneath. The potatoes are looking good. We've put potatoes under most of the apple trees, and we're trying to kind of mound up just right at the base of the plants to keep the potatoes out of the sunshine. And then if you walk through our apple tree area, that brings you back to the front of the garden here. And this is where we have our brassica beds that are covered. Got some cosmos and zinnias. This is Sonata mix, I believe, of the cosmos, and then I'm not sure the variety of zinnias because they're not blooming yet. I think they're going to be a purple prince, possibly. And then on the other side, a pink variety of zinnias, and then this is going to be straw flower. First time trying straw flowers, so hopefully those work. Alright, so under this bed we have it's kind of like a dinosaur type kale. I think it's called Dazzling Blue. That's done really well. It's starting to bolt now, and so we're going to have to just kind of mass harvest it, maybe freeze a little bit. We've got onions that are just about ready to pull out and dry. And here in the center we had 0.1 cabbage. There's one left. It's kind of fallen over. It's ready to be harvested, and I think we've harvested almost 10 heads in this tiny little 3 foot by 4 foot space of this cabbage. So this is a keeper. Definitely going to grow this again. Super excited about the 0.1 cabbage. And then down on the other end here is cauliflower that's bursting out of the cover. So the bugs have gotten into it, and I don't know that we're going to get anything from it. Last I checked, there weren't really any heads forming, so let's see. Oh, tiny little heads. So we may have our first ever tiny little cauliflower heads. Accidentally planted the wrong variety. I meant to plant early snowball, and I think I accidentally just grabbed snowball. And so there just hasn't been enough time for this to mature. And then Hilton Chinese cabbage. This has been fantastic. It's our second year growing it. It just is amazing. You can use it as lettuce once your lettuce has bolted. It is starting to get close to bolting now, so we may have to harvest it out soon, and you can also cook it. And the bugs, other than the little, we get some kind of little flea beetles that kind of munch a few little holes, but other than that, under cover, it has been fantastic. 3 families have been harvesting from this small little area for, a month and a half, I believe. And then down here we already harvested our Red Express cabbage, which did okay. We only got about 4 heads. The rest of the heads bolted, and so I think I'll have to start those earlier next year. Right beside the brassica beds we have a Celeste fig tree, which is actually more like a bush that comes back from the root every year. Lemon balm, anise hyssop, comfrey that's out of control. Korean hyssop, which is a new one for me this year. I'm trying more anise hyssop. Got echinacea, and then a few flowers that haven't started blooming yet. Back to the front middle of the garden, we've got a bunch of Racina calendula that is definitely ready to harvest. I like to dry it for salve. Some oregano, tons of chives. This year I'm going to try and do better at deadheading all the chives so that we don't have so many next year. And then there's some red chard and onions in the middle, which are ready to be harvested. They're kind of dried out now. Some more zinnias. A parsley that overwintered and went to seed. It's so beautiful. Over there is our spinach and red oric and strawberry bed that unfortunately this year the spinach all bolted. Last year it made it through the summer, but not this year. So I'm not sure. Every year's a little different. I need to come through and kind of chop that down because the strawberries are still coming on. I want to get them some more sunshine. And last but not least, here in the kitchen garden is more red chard, garlic that's ready to be harvested, and I planted some more new little Fort Hook giant chard plants that have been flooded. And they're so tiny, I'm hoping they make it. The Fort Hook giant seems to do better than the red chard in the summertime. A lot of the red chard's already bolted. And some more calendula and zinnias, and we've got more peppers here. This is a Kobachi Red, a new variety of pepper we're trying this year. And I don't know if y'all remember me being excited about growing pink celery. Well, early on in the late winter, early spring, I found pink celery variety at Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company, and I was super excited about it. Well, unfortunately, I've tried multiple times to get this celery to grow, and this is all that I've got left growing. Four little teeny celery plants, or maybe 5, here in the greenhouse, because anywhere I put them outside they got flooded out. So I'm hoping that under the protection of the greenhouse, maybe I'll get 4 or 5 little celery plants. We'll see. Here under our patio on the southwest side, we've got some new beds that we have mostly tomatoes, and then also several varieties of basil planted in, and they've been slow going, but they're just starting to take off. We did all the tomatoes on strings. We really like the string trellising system so far for the tomatoes. It works really well. And last we'll go out to the front garden, which is a new space just this year. And we're immediately met by polar bear zinnias, which I just think are so beautiful. So just inside the gate on either side is polar bear zinnias, and then also started some hollyhocks, but they're still too young. And then on these front beds, got sunflower zinnias and sweet potatoes on both sides. These other zinnias out here are called Purple Prince. Also very beautiful. And the sunflowers are a pygmy variety, pygmy sunflowers, so they don't get very tall. They are quite bushy though, so I'm hoping they don't shade off the sweet potatoes too much. We've got new little fig trees. This was a start from our other fig tree in the garden. It was just a baby offshoot. And then comfrey and more sweet potatoes. I tucked a butternut squash in the back there. It's getting a little yellow. I believe that most of the squash out here has been drowned by all the rain. I tucked a couple of lemon drop peppers just on the edge of this sweet potato bed, and then hiding in here in between the massive comfrey. And then this is another fig tree here. I believe that one's a Chicago Hardy. Another butternut squash that's turning yellow, not looking so great. And this area is the area that I was most excited about, and now I'm the most sad about. It's our new double cattle panel trellis. We even put down the weed fabric for the first time. Tried that this year, and everything looked great at first, but as you can tell now, the plants are really struggling. I just went through yesterday and cleared out most of the dead leaves and probably took out about 100 squash bugs. These are the Maxima variety winter squash that I was so excited about. I think they just have had so much water, just basically been drowned out. And so they turned yellow, the bugs came in like crazy. So we'll see. Maybe there's still hope. And there are a few little ones trying to survive. And then last but not least, here in the front garden, we've got Orange Glow watermelon growing and doing pretty well here. I think watermelon really loves water, so it's liking that it's getting so much water here. And then this one other bed has sugar baby watermelon growing in it. Same thing, although they're a little slow growing, they haven't seemed to mind all the water. I can actually, as I walk through here, I can hear water just squishing under the wood chips underneath. It's so soggy.
Thanks for joining us in the garden today. Thanks for joining us in the garden today. We pray blessings over you and yours. Whatever you do, do it with your whole heart. Do your whole heart.
Whole heart, good.
Well, I got a big pink cucumber.
A big cucumber.